pole, and well, there's a number of different strategies at play here this afternoon on the grid as we take a quick look at it. Fisichella and Button, we believe, are going to stop. Well, Fisichella, I'm told, around about lap 14 or 15, Button perhaps lap 17. The two Williams are very interesting, right up there on the second row of the grid. Rosberg has one less set of new tyres than Mark Webber, which could be crucial in deciding the outcome between those two drivers, because a new set of tyres here at a pit stop is worth about 2 seconds on your out lap and your first flying lap. You can see Montoya and Raikkonen, they are the dark horses in every sense, 5th and 6th on the grid. And they've got quite a bit of fuel. You expect them to come in perhaps lap 22 or 23. Alonso, the unknown, how much fuel is left in that car after qualifying, how much was in there in the first place. None of the teams really have a good handle on that, and generally speaking they always have a pretty good idea of what everyone's going to do. And then you can see at the back, Michael Schumacher qualified 4th, but with a 10-place drop goes back to 14th. The two Midlands, it's going to be physical on the drivers as well. Over the course of the next hour and a half, they will shed about 4 litres of fluid, about half a stone in body weight. So if you're considering a crash diet to get yourself in shape for the springtime, you could do worse than to come here and compete in a 57-lap Grand Prix.
And those McLarens I'm expecting to be extremely strong. On Alonso's car, they recalibrated a fuel rig and made their problem worse. And that's why Flavio Briatore just said to me, yeah, we thought we'd let a Fernando drive to Australia for the next Grand Prix. We put so much fuel in him, but they're hoping they can recover that situation.
36 degrees the track temperature, 33 the air temperature. The humidity has crept up over the last hour to about 62%. You can see a few clouds floating around the horizons. That's not unusual for Malaysia, and when it does rain, it rains really hard here in monsoon quantities. Well, we've had the parade lap, 56 racing laps to come. When the 5 lights go out, we'll be racing here in Sepang. And they're away. Fisichella on the right, Button on the left. Who's got the drop? It's Fisichella. Rosberg comes across to cover Webber. He's pushing him towards the pit wall. Webber's not lifting his foot though. Who's going to get the inside line between the two Williams? Is it Rosberg? Right round the outside goes Alonso. What a beautiful start by the world champion. And as Rosberg and Webber were practicing that strategy they told Martin about, Alonso caught them napping. He's up to 3rd. Fantastic.
Alonso just caught them watching each other. What a stunning start from him. And if he's big on fuel, which we know he is, he's in an incredibly good position. The McLarens are fighting off and having to really protect their position. A Ferrari on the grass at the top, which must have been Michael Schumacher. And McLaren is off. Kimi's in the wall. He's touched somebody already, I suspect. I don't think he could have lost the car there. I imagine that's contact. Kimi Raikkonen out of the Grand Prix. I'd be interested to see the start again. Rosberg looked like he got away well and was going to threaten Jensen Button, and all of a sudden he was under attack, almost as if he hit the rev limiter in one of the upshifts. And there then is Ralf Schumacher and Massa having a look too. So let's have a look. They're back 13th and 14th. They're in the middle there. Scott Speed is the Toro Rosso driver. Coulthard up from 19th to 11th already. 10th is Michael Schumacher from 14th.
And that's Klein. Oh no, Christian Klein, 7th on the grid after a fantastic qualifying performance. Again, punching above the Red Bull's weight. He's hit someone as well. What a frantic first lap.
I suspect it's Kimi Raikkonen, because Raikkonen could not have made an error where I believe he went off. Ted may have some news for us at Red Bull.
Well, I think he must have, because he's absolutely ripped the suspension of the right front and make that the left front. They're refueling the car, but no, this is terminal.
When he was at Williams, they tended to think about grid position. McLaren think about the race. Look at the two McLarens on the right then. Look at Alonso making his progress down the left-hand side, right behind the two Williams now as they get on the pit wall.
Yeah, Alonso's coming from a long way back. He's playing a video game at the moment. He's like, okay, you watch each other. I'm coming right round the outside. He was so lucky that the Williams didn't get together, because they would have scooped him up as well. And relatively well behaved there. And this is Alonso with that mega Renault start. And there he is behind the two Williams. The two Williams are now going to the inside, and he can recognise straight away that's a potential zone, danger zone. He's on the grippy part, the normal racing line, just giving himself enough space around the outside, tucks in nicely behind Button, and Button did get away better. And look, that's Raikkonen. I think his right rear. I think his right rear was slightly out of kilter. Here we go. No, that's a replay of the start. Oh yeah, he got tagged on the right rear, I imagine by Klein, and now it's going to spin him straight off. So yeah, right rear suspension failed. Little Rosberg then, P6, beginning to catch Montoya now as well. And further, oh, that's a big smoky blow up from BMW, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, no.
No, it's the Williams of Rosberg. The Williams of Rosberg.
Lap 11 of the Malaysian Grand Prix, and it looks like another Ferrari-powered car is in trouble. David Coulthard.
Stuck in sixth gear.
Stuck in sixth gear, the problem, not an engine problem then. They have had their fair share of engine problems. Felipe Massa in the works car has changed engines 3 times. And here's Michael Schumacher getting past Jacques Villeneuve. This is the battle for 8th place, the final points position. Schumacher coming through from 14th on the grid.
Yeah, 2 former world champions. You can see Michael's controversial front wing flapping around in the turbulence of the BMW of Jacques Villeneuve, and sends one up the inside. Villeneuve with a no-hoper of a half an effort around the outside, because Michael very much had track position there. He moves up to 8th place. Coulthard in the pits then, so both Red Bulls have problems. Kleins has rejoined, although Klein has pitted again as well, so maybe they didn't fix all of his front suspension problems. Coulthard pits, Rosberg blown up, Raikkonen has a problem on the first lap, contact with Klein. There are both the Red Bulls, and Klein saying it just doesn't feel right, and I can understand, especially at the front end. If the front end's not tracking properly, then you've got yourself a fairly major problem around high-speed circuits like this, or anywhere.
Well, we're in the zone for the first round of pit stops. This is lap 16. We've seen Mark Webber come in already. We're expecting others to come in soon. Certainly Fisichella, Button won't be too long away before their first round of pit stops. Button has not really been able to hold on to Fisichella. That last lap he gave away almost a second to him. Fisichella really putting the hammer down now. Bit of smoke, is that out the back of the Williams of Mark Webber? Another Cosworth about to let go.
Yeah, it's looking a bit fiery and smoky down there, isn't it? Mark Webber
dear.
Quite sensibly getting himself off the racing line. He's not very far away. At least it's the exit of a corner. I don't know if he's in the firing line of a braking zone. He shouldn't be where he looks like he went off. But Fisichella still pumping in the fast laps as Mark Webber gets out of the car. This will be a bitter disappointment for Williams. They really expected a bit of a point haul. And there is Massa following the green arrow to pass Jarno Trulli.
So, Renault are ready. Fisichella would probably be the most likely bet for coming in first, seeing as the lap times he's doing very, very quick at the moment. Here he is, your race leader, on lap 17 then. First of the front runners to come in.
So he's 20 seconds ahead of Alonso. If we're right and Alonso's pitting one less time, probably makes Alonso the race leader effectively at the moment. He'll be in second. Button will take over the actual lead. Big story now, but a lot of fuel went in there, a lot of fuel going in Fisichella's car, and the big story now is how much further. That's Alonso coming through. He's a P2 then. How much further can Jensen Button go before he has to stop for a little bit of a fill-up?
So Fisichella rejoins just in front of Juan Montoya, I think, crucially. Button leads this Grand Prix. Alonso is second. Fisichella is third, and Montoya is fourth, with Heidfeld fifth.
Flat out now. All you got to do is just mind the curve. I drove this track half dozen laps this morning. That turn 3, it's surprising how quickly the curve comes up.
And I was mentioning before that new tyres are worth 2 seconds over these 2 laps. Alistair Gibson there, the chief mechanic of the Honda racing team, an enormously competitive individual. He's holding the lollipop. Jensen's on the throttle, drops the clutch. That was a nice stop by the Honda team, quicker than Fisichella's. Before the pit stops, Jensen Button was running in second place, 7 seconds behind Fisichella. Now he is 5 seconds behind Fisichella. Alonso is 5 seconds ahead of Fisichella, and a few spots of rain was that on the lens of the camera. It's going to be tough for them to beat Alonso, though. He seems very strong today. Montoya, this was lap 24. Schumacher knew, of course, he was going to take a 10-place drop on the grid. Is that Villeneuve coming down the pit lane? I think it is. He's about to make a stop, making his way down to his pit garage as well. Michael Schumacher goes out, and it'll be interesting to see him attacking Montoya now in this middle phase of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, Michael Schumacher had to wait a long time there before they could release him because of Villeneuve. They're quite slow actually down the pit lane. That cost Michael another 2 or 3 seconds. I don't know if it's hampered him with regard to track position.
Well, it means he had about 75 kilos of fuel in the car when he went to the grid, which means he must have had about 100 in the car when he started qualifying yesterday, considering that everybody else would have been carrying about 50. No wonder he was so out of bed on the lap time. Here comes the race leader then, lap 26, 10 laps later than his teammate into the pits.
Well, as world champions, they have the right to be at the beginning of the pit lane, which gives you a nice direct approach in. Ooh, that's away quickly, isn't it? That's away very, very quickly. How far is that going to go before it needs another top-up? Have they switched him back to a two-stopper? That's almost certain, doesn't it?
Yep, he's on definitely a two-stop strategy. He'll be coming in again around about lap 40 or 41. Teammate Fisichella. In the event, it was lap 16 that Fisichella came in. He was supposed to go, I think, a lap longer, Alonso, but he ended up going 10 laps longer because of the mistake. So I just wonder whether perhaps the way the car is set up, what they're looking for is the speed they feel is in running a little bit lighter, and that's probably why they've switched him into making another stop again. We will see. Certainly he's going very quickly at the moment, as into the pits comes Felipe Massa
from fourth, his first stop of the afternoon. They'll fuel him, surely that'll get him to the end of the way to go for 9 or 10 seconds worth of fuel. So we think Fisichella and Alonso have both got to stop again. Alonso's 15 seconds behind. He'll have a shorter stop when he does stop. And now he's just got to find a bundle of track time against his teammate. So let's see if he can do it. At the moment, he's taking about 3/4 of a second per lap out of Fisichella. That's Alonso in third. Button is in a Renault sandwich at the moment with his Honda. Montoya back up to fourth now after Massa's stop. But he's now lapping in the 37s.
And the picture of last year is starting to reform, isn't it?
It is, but Fisichella's responded. He was a tenth quicker than Alonso on that last lap, as Massa asks, I think it was a Superaguri driver, what do you think you're doing? But that's easy for him now. He's in a nice fast Ferrari. And let's look, first sector again, Fisichella's up, so he's responded now. That's showing Alonso catching Button, which he is still just doing. But Fisichella and Button have responded. Alonso then has got a lot of work to do. Fisichella can win this race, there's no doubt about it, if he can just keep pumping in relentlessly good lap times.
Well, Button is now on the same pace as the two Renaults. He is lapping in the mid to high 135s for lap after lap, so he's there on pace at this point. But as we saw a few laps ago around the pit stops, that's when he lost the time. He was tucked up behind Juan Montoya. That cost him a little bit of time, but straight after that, his pace just wasn't quite there. Now he's picked it up, though, and he is running in second place, under 10 seconds behind the race leader, and 4.5 seconds in front of Alonso.
Montoya's picked his pace up as well. There's something mysterious on the McLaren where he doesn't seem to have a consistent something or other. He's not happy fully in the car. His paces are all over the place. Right now, it's good. Ted is down at Honda.
Exactly what's going on with Rubens Barrichello. On Jenson Button's side of the garage, it's, quote, panning out. The race is panning out exactly as they expected. Well, he's being closed on by Alonso, so I guess behind the Renaults isn't so bad, for now anyway.
Just to explain that reference to Anthony Davidson. Davidson is the team's test driver, and also he does the Friday running. The teams who finished outside the top 4 in the World Championship last year are allowed to run a third car for Friday practice only, and it's quite a significant advantage this year. It allows you to run some tyres, do some setup work, and test the engines and that kind of thing. And Anthony Davidson is an immensely experienced test driver, had a few race outings, of course, including here last year. Mark Webber stopped the car out on the track with some smoke coming out of the back of it, and Christian Klein, having damaged the suspension in the collision on the first lap, then carried on for a while, but he is now not classified. 17 cars still running, make that 16 with Ide having pulled off the racetrack from 17th place. Here's the stop and go penalty of 10 seconds for Rubens Barrichello. This race then is between the two Renault drivers primarily. Giancarlo Fisichella is leading by 10 seconds from Jenson Button, who's managing to maintain the gap to Alonso at 4 seconds. Button is quick at the moment. He lost time around about the time just after his first pit stop, but at this stage of the Grand Prix, he's on the same pace as the Renault drivers. Is it too late for him to try and put a charge on for the race? He's lost 2 seconds in the middle sector alone, Jenson Button. He can't afford to do that. He absolutely cannot afford to do it. Into the pits comes race leader Giancarlo Fisichella. He had an amazing middle sector, the fastest of anybody so far in the Grand Prix on his in-lap. He's trying really hard to win this race, Fisichella.
Traffic's going to help him. A brand new set of tyres then for his final stint. Ooh, lost about a half a second, that's all there. And Ted is down there.
Yeah, and a good move from Honda. They've decided Jenson was losing far too much time. We heard him on the radio shouting, traffic, traffic, and they pitted him. So here he is, about 7.5 seconds the target, although hopefully they'll be quicker than that. Here we go, all clean so far. Bit late on the lollipop. Let's go where he goes out in this battle with Alonso.
Okay, and that's a Midland coming down there, isn't it? Rather than, no, it's the McLaren of Montoya that's gone through as well. So Button's back behind Montoya. Just doesn't seem to work for him, does it?
Absolutely, exactly the same scenario as in Bahrain, coming out behind Juan Montoya, who he had to overtake twice during that Grand Prix.
To win this Grand Prix is Giancarlo Fisichella. Bit of traffic to dispatch down into the braking zone of turn 9. And calm and collected. We saw him in Bahrain, didn't we? Just losing his cool. We've seen it at other times too, but today he looks like he's been absolutely rock solid as Fisichella. He'll still be gutted, won't he, if he sees Alonso emerge out of the pits and beat him to the apex of turn 1. But Alonso's got so much work to do. Let's look at the comparative sectors. Fisichella's a couple of tenths faster on this lap already. No, it's about even Stevens actually. So Alonso not making enough time up when he's got some clear air. Fisichella is pegging him, no doubt about it. Right, Alonso was 23.8 seconds ahead of Button, and he's been on this lap about 3/10. So let's say 24 seconds he's got over Jenson Button. Surely Fisichella will regain the lead, and Alonso should, if it's a good stop, a little tweak of the front wing there, he should come out in front of Jenson. Away he goes. That looked quick, didn't it?
6 seconds, bang on.
Oh, look at that. Who's that coming down the pit straight? Difficult to tell from that angle.
Very
I think it was
difficult to tell
Barrichello,
from
wasn't
that
it? In
angle,
front. This is
Easy to
front
make a
now.
monkey of yourself on that one. Out he comes, and there is Alonso back on track. Is that Jenson Button swinging through the shot? I think it is.
Yep.
So Button is down to 3rd place. That's how close it was. Jeff Willis there, the technical director of Honda, in the middle of that threesome. And, well, it didn't quite work out. Button just didn't have the pace immediately after his pit stop. Christian Klein we've lost. We have also lost David Coulthard, who had a hydraulics problem and was stuck in 6th gear. Only 16 cars still running in this race of attrition Grand Prix here. But it's not all over at the front, is it, Martin? Alonso is really going after Fisichella. Took 2 seconds out of him on his first lap out of the pit stop, and now he's down to 8 seconds behind.
And he's dragging Button along in 3rd, but Alonso just flying. Now, if you're a Renault, you'd have to tell them, surely, to back off to the extent they've got to stay in front of Button, but they can't let them race to the ultimate lap, surely. They've got to go for the sensible option here. But if they are, then Alonso hasn't got that message yet.
Ferrari with the Red Bull racing car, which is powered by the same V8 engine, you'd have to say that they are pretty impressive. And how do they test the rear wings? Well, the FIA technical people have some weighted devices that basically simulate downforce and pull down on the rear wing in certain places. And if you can make someone's blown up big time there. If you can make the wing flex a bit, then you can get away with it. There's Heidfeld from 5th place. Oh no, the BMW engine lets go of Nick Heidfeld, and a 5th place denied him with just 8 laps to go to the end of the Grand Prix, having driven a tremendous race.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Massa probably fancies him chances. He's catching Heidfeld by quite a lot, but that's not going to be a problem any longer. Heidfeld has driven very well, running in P5. That brings Ralf Schumacher in the Toyota up into the points in P8, having had a disastrous weekend with actually quite a fast car. We're on board with Liuzzi having a go at the MF1 of Albers and takes that position. That's for 12th place.
Now Liuzzi using a Rev Limited V10 engine, the only team in the field to do so. Everyone else has gone on to the new V8 engines. That loophole was originally created for Minardi team, who are a low-budget outfit, and they couldn't afford a proper V8 engine, so that's what it was for. But with Red Bull having taken over Minardi, they've continued with the contract So with the Cosworth to run the rev limited V10s, and certainly Midland are very unhappy about that. Look at the straight line speed advantage that Liuzzi has.
Well, he needed every breath of slipstream he could find, didn't he? And then Albers realising he was going to have to concede.
Well, we're an hour and 25 minutes into this Grand Prix, just 6 laps to go. The drivers will have lost around about 4 litres of fluid from their body, half a stone in body weight, and they'll all be desperate for a drink when they get out. The drinks bottles on the cars, some of them have about half a litre, some of them have about a litre, but by this stage of the race, it'll be the temperature of tea, and particularly unpalatable. Well, looking back on the race then, Fisichella leading from pole position, Jenson Button behind him. Alonso made a wonderful start from 7th on the grid to 3rd into the first corner, ahead of the 2 Williams who were squabbling over that position. And Kimi Raikkonen was eliminated with an accident. There was early stops from Giancarlo Fisichella and Jenson Button. Alonso took the lead at that point and went 9 laps longer than Fisichella and Button.
So Montoya, if he's got anything left, he's going to have to just pick the pace up a little bit, otherwise he's going to be nip and tuck on the last lap. Villeneuve then with a face full of back marker and mirrors full of Ralf Schumacher.
Well, Rubens Barrichello is down in 10th place. He did a one-stop strategy here this afternoon. He also had to have an engine penalty, changing that Honda engine yesterday before qualifying. But unfortunately for him, he is speeding in the pit lane fine, and he had to come through for a stop-and-go penalty. He's down in 10th place, but he's just set his fastest lap of the Grand Prix in a 1:36.1.
Fisichella was 6.7 seconds clear of the now coasting Alonso, because Button's 5 seconds behind him. And Montoya comfortably 4th. Massa's not really catching him now. I think Massa's more busy watching his teammate at this stage. And Villeneuve looks set for a couple of World Championship points, but he's 80 seconds away from the leader. And these 2 Ferraris are 45 seconds adrift, and I think they'll be surprised and disappointed about that.
Yep, Renault is certainly the benchmark team at the moment. Montoya in the McLaren is 40 seconds behind race leader Fisichella, so it certainly is going to be an open championship. This is a track that clearly has suited the Renaults. They've been very strong here, despite their problems in qualifying. Honda, Jenson Button, they're going to finish 11 seconds behind the race leader. That's a better performance. And you can see that's how close Jenson Button is to actually winning a race this year. But here is the man who's going to come through to claim his 3rd Grand Prix victory in 161 starts. The nearly man, really, of Formula One, often the forgotten man in the Renault team. He won last year's first Grand Prix and then had bad luck from there on. This year he had bad luck in the first Grand Prix, and he hopes it's a reverse, that good luck will follow for the rest of the season. He's had tremendous luck here. He's driven brilliantly. He is the winner of the Malaysian Grand Prix, Giancarlo Fisichella. Fantastic performance by the 33-year-old from Rome. The world champion finishes in 2nd place. Look how close Jenson Button is, just 9 seconds behind at the end. He picks up a podium. Alonso picks up his 25th Formula One career podium in just 70 starts, so underlining what a massive player he is in this sport. Waiting for Montoya to come through. There he is, and the 2 Ferraris behind. Montoya will finish 4th. Massa will finish in 5th place, ahead of teammate Michael Schumacher.
I think that's significant for Michael. Last week he was outgunned by Alonso, this week by his teammate.
A 1-2 finish then for Renault. A 1-2-3-4 finish for Michelin. You can see 3 different makes of cars in the top 4. Ferrari's finishing 5th and 6th. Jacques Villeneuve getting another couple of points for BMW Williams, and Ralf Schumacher picking up a point for Toyota to get them off the mark in 2006. Only 14 cars finished.
Fernando Alonso has benefited from his 2nd position to strengthen his position at the head of those drivers' standings. A 7-point lead now over Michael Schumacher, with Jenson Button in 3rd place, 11.7 points off the lead, the same as Schumacher. But for Alonso, seemingly getting a grip at this early stage. This year, it's victory for Giancarlo Fisichella. Renault start the season 2 wins out of 2 and a 1-2 here in Sepang.
Thank you.